Hello everyone, we are from SGD B9 and now we're going to present our student project presentation about low intake of essential amino acids and other risk factors of stunting among under 5 children in Malang City, East Java, Indonesia. Next, here are the members of our group. Next. So my name is Fiorella Angelina with my last digit of student number is 084 and I'm going to explain about the introduction part. So, children under the age of 5 require sufficient intake of nutrients to sustain their growth and development. And chronic malnutrition, which leads to stunting, is an issue that affects children's ability to develop physically and cognitively to their full potential. The World Health Organization estimates that 155 million children under the age of 5 experience stunting worldwide, and Indonesia ranks 5th globally in terms of the prevalence of stunting among children under the age of 5. And given Indonesia's high rate of stunting in under 5 children, this health issue needs to be resolved as soon as possible. Next. So the article that will be reviewed is a research article with a case-control descriptive study method. The study was conducted at Kedung Kandang Health Center Malang, with the research subjects are children aged 24 until 59 months, with 23 of them are stunted, and 57 others are normal. And data were taken through anthropometric measurements and questionnaires, which were then analyzed using multiple logistic regression. The result of this study are children who are stunted have lower intake of essential amino acids, such as histidine, isoleucine, and methionine, and other risk factors that can affect stunting are found, such as family income per month below the average, underweight, breastfeeding under 6 months, and low intake of essential amino acids, such as methionine. Next. Here are the formulations of the problems. Next. Here are the objectives of our student project. Next. And here are the benefits of our student project. Next.
My name is Gusti Agung Dagon Nanda Suryatama with student number 15. Okay, now I will answer the first question about the cause of stunting in determinant model. So stunting is not caused by only a single factor, but rather by multifaceted and intertwined factors. Of this factor, insufficient dietary intake and infectious disease directly cause stunting. Insufficient dietary intake, especially protein and carbohydrates, is found to affect metabolic process that influence children's growth. With dietary protein, which quality is assessed by amino acid content, contributes to brain growth and development. Among those amino acids, there are 9 types that cannot be produced naturally by human body, and they are called essential amino acid, which consist of histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and valine. As they cannot be produced by human body, low intake of essential amino acids may cause stunting despite high overall protein intake, while low dietary carbohydrate intake cause body to use protein as energy source, which result in low number of circulating amino acids that is not sufficient to maintain growth. Other factors that also contribute to stunting are environmental condition, parents, education and knowledge, and family socioeconomic status. Environmental conditions such as lack of clean water access and sanitation will increase the risk of developing infectious disease, which in the long term might cause malnutrition and stunting if left untreated. Disaster is also environmental condition that could interfere with food supply, while education and knowledge of the parents as well as socioeconomic status of the family influence their decision to raise children. Negative parenting style is said to play a part in stunting cases. Well-informed parent will have more awareness and ability to provide proper sanitation and also prevent low birth weight by sufficient nutrition intake during pregnancy. Exclusive breastfeeding is also found to prevent malnutrition and stunting incidents.
My name is Jennifer Jasna Gunawan with student number 068. Stunting is impaired growth in children defined by the height for age Z-score index below -2 SD. It is caused by repeated infection and nutrition deficiency, especially inadequate essential protein intake. Children with inadequate nutrition would fail to grow, and as it is irreversible, stunted children would fail to fulfill their full growth potential. They also would have increased risks in developing metabolic diseases, memory impairment, decreased cognitive and motor function, reduced productivity, as well as lower survival rates in adulthood.
Hello everyone, my name is Putu Emilia Dewi with 3 last digit of student number 028. Several conditions must be fulfilled to define a condition as an occupational disease. Occupational diseases were diagnosed by 7 steps based on the Indonesian occupational disease treatment consensus as shown on the slide. These approaches are needed to ensure the occupational factors of the disease cause. Step 1 is clinical diagnosis determination. It is stated in the article's methods that the stunting diagnosis is done by determining the child's height for age value. A child is stunted if the height for age value is less than the -2 standard deviation. Step 2 determination of exposures experienced by workers in the workplace. There were no exposure in the work environment experienced by stunting patients because all patients were of the children's age and were not yet productive. The article states that a low intake of essential amino acid has a significant effect on stunting. Other risk factors, such as low family income, underweight, and having less than 6 months of breastfeeding, also contribute to stunting. However, these risk factors are not occupational related. Step 3 determination of the relationship between exposure and clinical diagnosis. There are no work related exposure that can cause stunting, thus, the relationship between exposure and clinical diagnosis couldn't be defined. Step 4 determination of the exposure amount. There are no work related exposure that can cause stunting, therefore, the magnitude of work related exposures that cause stunting cannot be determined. Step 5 determination of individual factors. According to the article, individual factors that play a role in the incidence of stunting are consumption of essential amino acids, nutritional status, and duration of breastfeeding. All of these factors are not related to the work environment or process. Step 6 determination of other factors outside the workplace. There are no hobbies or other activities that are significantly associated with stunting. And the last one, step 7, determination of occupational diagnosis. So, in conclusion, stunting is a non-occupational disease.
My name is Samantha Lilan Cipta Putri with 3 last digit of student number 066, and I'm going to answer number 4. The first number that I'm going to explain is the number of the subjects. This study have 80 subjects, and they also shown 1:2 ratio between case and controls, which means they have 23 stunted cases and 57 controls cases. The study also showed 95% confidence interval, which means that this study, the researchers are 95% sure that the result of this study is precise if applied to the population. This study also showed 80% power, which means that this study has been able to demonstrate the association between variables 80% significant. The study also have p-value less than 0.002, means that the result of this study is very significant or highly significant. The data presented in this study is shown in table that shows its value in form of number and percentage. For example, in the first table, on the age in months in standard samples is 30.87 plus minus 8.91, meaning that 30.87 is the mean value of the age in months, and plus minus 8.91 is the standard deviation of that average. Moreover, other examples such as in male gender in standard sample is shown as 11 and 47.8. 11 is the number of the samples, and the 47.8 is the percentage of that 11 number. Thank you.
So my name is Jacqueline and I have a roll number of 248. I'll be addressing the fifth question on whether or not the study design used is correct and to explain whether this research design can solve the health problems or cases in this journal. I'll be starting from the research method. It is appropriate to use because the descriptive research method focuses on problem solving. And then the study design is also appropriate because it is the case control design, which is used in assessing risk factors. The sampling method is also appropriate to use because purposive sampling method is used in research centered around characteristics of a certain population, then the inclusion criteria is also fitting for the research because it excludes children who suddenly became ill or contracted terminal illnesses.
My name is Christian Bastiantalo, number 075. Okay, for the data analysis is already appropriate, and the researchers were using the chi-square and independent sample t-test. Also, they applied bivariate analysis for all risk factors to identify the ones associated with stunting and to gain growth odds ratio. The presentation is also appropriate. They presented data well and clearly. They put the explanation completely about the stunt children and non-stunt children. In table 1, you can see that they show the participants' data including age, gender, anthropometry, energy level, age of mother, mother of caretakers, education background, and mother of caretakers income. In table 2, they showed data about logistic equation of association of amino acid intake and other determinant factors and stunting in under 5 children. There are family with a monthly income level less than RMW, underweight children, children with incomplete breastfeeding, and children with lacking EAA intake, especially methionine. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Luhko Mangayumila Viwanda with student number 133. Now I'm going to answer the question number 7. In this study, it was found that the protein intake in children was quite high, but the protein consumed served to replace the lack of energy due to the lack of carbohydrate intake. In addition, the lack of varied diet led to significantly low levels of histidine, isoleucine, and methionine in stunted children. So that in the end, only a little protein circulates in the body and causes growth disorders. This study didn't investigate further whether there are comorbidities that can interfere with carbohydrate absorption, such as celiac disease, autoimmune enteropathy, inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's disease, and ulcerative colitis. These diseases can inhibit carbohydrate absorption even though carbohydrate intake is adequate. Meanwhile, cystic fibrosis, inflammatory bowel disease, intestinal lymphangiectasia, and bowel resection can interfere with protein absorption despite adequate protein intake. This can lead to a bias as to whether stunting is caused by low protein intake or due to malabsorption of nutrients, which can cause low levels of carbohydrates and/or protein circulating in the body.
Next is regards the possible surveillance system. The organized gathering, tracking, evaluation, and analysis of many unstructured data about conditions such as disease, which may portray the intense risk of human health, is known as the event-based surveillance, or EBS. A more established method of informing public health professionals about illness is through indicator-based public health surveillance, or IPS. Both EBS and IBS could be used. The more appropriate surveillance system that could be implemented for this condition is event-based surveillance. Children with essential amino acid deficiency are unlikely to be brought to the healthcare by the parents. This suggests that EBS is a more efficient method of surveillance. As the study showed, 91.3% of the parents with stunted children have wages lower than the regional minimum wage. This shows that the economical stance play a major role in the occurrence of malnutrition in children. As parents couldn't afford to pay food for the children, it is more unlikely for them to provide their offsprings with suitable health care. IBS collects data from medical professionals to be presented and analyzed. The problem with this method is that their socio-economical stance could not afford them to offer medical care. Moreover, the occurrence is more prevalent in areas with lack of nutritious information, like in rural area, and thus less medical infrastructure to report the incidents. One thing to note is that EBS, event-based surveillance, which is the preferred one, is credible when the lab assessment is presented alongside, such as in this original article. Ultimately, it is more likely to use event-based surveillance than IBS. The next one is the active surveillance. The active surveillance, in order for the surveillance to work, in this case, an active surveillance is a must. Active surveillance produce more comprehensive and precise reporting than passive surveillance. But the main downside is that active monitoring is more expensive, it is more time consuming, and it requires more employees to get the data. And one of the possible surveillance plan is to implement an active routine nutritional checkup in several areas representing a population and checking the anthropometric data and general well-being, use lab assessments, and also implement the use of weight to age graph or height to age graph by the WHO, independently assessed by the parents across the population. Next will be continued by my friend.
Hello everyone, my name is Surajira Andiskosase with last 3 digits number 021. Screening or early detections of this disease can be fulfilled at community-based health posts or posyandu. As for the appropriate screening methods that commonly used in the community are anthropometric measurement, which using an infant scale with length meter to measure children's height and weight. Semi-structured interview with mothers that assess child health history, mother's health and knowledge, and household living environment can also be conducted, whereas data can be written on maternity health record book. Based on study that have been concluded, mother's height has significant correlations to prevalence of stunting in children under 5. Mother's height and weight can be measured using microtoys or mobile stadiometer and digital weight measure. In addition, hypothyroidism in mothers are also correlated with occurrence of very short stature in children. So TSH and T3 levels in mothers might also be needed to be measured. Thank you.
So hello everyone, my name is Joanna Fortandira with the last 3 digits of student number 039. And here I will answer about the relevance of this journal or article to disease prevention and control efforts in community. First of all, this article explains about stunting and the importance of essential amino acids intake as one of the risk factors for stunting amongst under 5 children in Malang. Therefore, this study focuses on comparing the association between risk factor variables on healthy children and stunted children. While this study was conducted, the writers are also exploring other risk factors of stunting with investigation. Other risk factors that are found including the lack of exclusive breastfeeding, low family income, underweight, and lack of variety of food. The relevance of this article in prevention and controlling stunting for the community is the investigation itself. Therefore, the stakeholders can make easier decisions for prevention and intervention strategies. It is also known that the WHO has worked with member states and partners for 2016 to 2025 nutrition strategy, with goal to achieve universal access to effective nutrition interventions and to healthy diets from sustainable and resilient food systems. This article can be part of the effort, especially in providing information to determine the intervention. The next one will be explained by my friend. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Andre Vena with the student digit number of 101, and now I will summarize our student project presentation. The article Low Intake of Essential Amino Acids and Other Risk Factors of Stunting Among Under 5 Children in Malang City, East Java, Indonesia is a research paper with descriptive study method. This article is focused on the most noticeable type of malnutrition, which is stunting, a growth impairment defined by the height for age Z-score index below -2 SD. Stunting is not an occupational disease, for it does not meet the criteria diagnostic for an occupational disease. The study uses descriptive research method with case control study design. This study also uses proportive sampling in order to focus on determining the spatial identity of the group of children with stunting. The study has appropriate data analysis by using chi-square and independent sample t-test and applying bivariate analysis. The data also presented adequately. However, the study did not investigate further whether there are comorbidities that can interfere with carbohydrate absorption, which can lead to bias as to whether stunting is caused by low protein intake or due to malabsorption of nutrients, which can cause low levels of carbohydrate and or protein circulating in the body. The appropriate surveillance system that could be implemented for this condition is the event-based surveillance. Screening or early detection of stunting can be fulfilled at community-based health posts or posyandu. This article can be part of the effort to achieve goals of the World Health Organization that targets a world free of all forms of malnutrition. This article can assist in providing information and determine interventions that must be done in preventing and controlling stunting due to the lack of studies on risk factors, especially in comparison of essential amino acid intakes. That's all for our student project presentation. Thank you for your attention.